just before I get started, so e-discovery, does everyone know what that is? If you don't, raise your hand. Excellent, okay. From this room, how many people are involved in preservation, data preservation? Hands? No. What about e-discovery processing or hosting services? Okay. Document review? No one, okay. So my focus, as I said, is e-discovery. I've been in e-discovery disclosure for about 20 years now. I started in 1997. And I point that out as a time because it was before the era of online databases. It was before a lot of the technology that I'm about to talk about existed. So what I was doing from paralegal servicing was going into warehouses that had 200, 300, 400 boxes of paper. We would go through the boxes, with an idea of what we were looking for, and we put little Post-it notes on the documents that were responsive would be green, and the ones that were potentially privileged, we put little red Post-it notes on. And then at the end of the day, you'd go pick up your stack and move it, and you'd see a whole bunch of red Post-it notes just at the bottom of the box, and you'd freak out. And there was no recourse for that other than to redo the work. Technology has taken away a lot of that rework. And that's really, from my opinion, the biggest advantage of technology in the litigation process when we're talking about e-discovery. So I'm going to focus on a lot of those tools that have eliminated waste and eliminated rework, because that's really a huge cost savings and time savings. And a lot of people have been talking today, and Abhijit was talking earlier about the incredible timelines and trying to get through the process in a time constraint or with a time constraint. The tools that we're going to talk about focus on that as well. That's one of their biggest advantages. Okay, so Hugh touched on AI. I'm going to get a little bit deeper into it because, again, most of the technology I'm going to talk about involves some element of artificial intelligence. It's not the artificial intelligence where it's a computer making every decision on their own, but it is using the cognitive computers, which are just computers who can be given information and then learn based on training. So cognitive computing. My market, e-discovery, it is a niche market. It is huge, though. Hugh was talking about his servicing being small, 153 million, 135 million was the number you put up there. 123. E-discovery business is $10 billion a year. In 5 years, it's going to be 25 billion. That's how much technology, that's how much paper, that's how much litigation worldwide exists today. The demand for the AI, for the tools that we're going to talk about, it's all volume based. If you think about the way you work, there's so much data that you're creating on a daily basis, that your clients are creating on a daily basis, that everyone's creating. And so that's driving the need for lower cost servicing, faster servicing, and then better servicing. Because again, with the timelines and the deadlines and the constraints that we have, there's just no way to get through it unless you can apply smart technology to the processes. AI has been around for about 25, 30 years. It's nothing new. What I'm going to focus on is machine learning and natural language processing, because those are the two bits of AI that really feed into e-discovery and the tools that we're going to talk about. Past impact, technology isn't new. Technology's been emerging. It's been growing and expanding. When I started in 97, we were at the digitization stage. We were talking about paper is now not paper anymore. Now it is scanned imaging. There were too many fires. There was too much lost paper. If there was a fire or if someone threw out a box of paper, it's gone forever. Digitization took that away. So now it's available in scanned form. Virtual repositories, again, when I started, 97 was really before the internet happened. So clients used to take those papers, those boxes of paper, we'd scan them, they'd send them to us, we would hold them in a repository for them that was in my office. And when they wanted, when they had to depose a witness or they had to respond to some interrogatories, they needed paper. They would call me and say, I need all the documents for these 2 people within this time frame that had to do with this issue. And I would run a search, I would print all the paper, and then I would FedEx it back to them. So again, we stuck in paper. So the advent of an online or a virtual repository had a huge impact because they didn't have to call me, they didn't have to wait for me to print it or FedEx it. They would immediately log into a website, run their own search, and have the documents ready to print and take with them. Search technology, that was a big thing back in the early 90s, DT search, the ability to run a search on text and find all of your results rather than go to your secretary or your assistant and have them go to the file folder and pull back what they thought you wanted. So that impacted legal research, which we're going to talk about, definitely impacted compliance, e-discovery, case prediction, document automation. All of the technology it impacted those areas. The current goal right now is to free up attorneys to do the work that they need to be doing. If you're bogged down doing document review, if you're bogged down searching through file folders, if you're bogged down at all, you're not really focusing on what your clients need you to be focusing on. If you're an in-house attorney, you're not focused on what your boss wants you to do. You're just not making your deadlines. So machine learning, expert systems, which are those cognitive computing systems, visualization. If you think about websites that you go to, visualization is huge today, and just in the way that you work. The way that we present data to the world makes an impact on how they understand the data. It's the same thing with e-discovery. The way you present documents or the way you present data to yourself is going to impact how quickly you can make a judgment. Legal research, I think, is probably one of the most interesting areas right now. We include that in e-discovery because we consider e-discovery case strategy, my team. So Westlaw and Lexis, everybody has used them. Everyone's used them for about 20 years. Online repositories that have aggregated data where you can go in and run a search and you can find case law, you can find precedents, you can find case notes, judgments, summaries. AI right now, as Hugh said, it's just at the beginning stages of development. Even at the beginning stages where we are right now, it's really helping from a legal research standpoint. It's speeding up the process and it's providing better answers. So Westlaw, which is Thomson Reuters, is using Watson, the IBM supercomputer, using that technology to create their own repository. They have tons of people at Thomson Reuters. They have tons of documents in Westlaw stored. So they're using that repository to train Watson to make better decisions, to help you find what you're looking for faster and quicker. A couple of law firms here in the UK and then one in the US are also working with Ross Intelligence. And Ross, again, built on Watson, is really focusing on the legal market. And right now it's just focusing on a couple of areas of legal, but the plan in the next 5 years is to expand to every sector of legal. But you can ask, you can go, who here has used Westlaw or Lexis? Great, okay. So this is better. You can go into Ross and you can say, what example, can a bankrupt business still do business? Can they still sell their product? You can ask it just like that. You don't need keywords, you don't need search terms, you don't need a case number. You literally just, the way that I'm speaking is the way that you type it in. And then Ross will bring back relevant cases, relevant precedents. It'll bring back the stuff that you're looking for, and you can say, and then it will also give you the sources, links to the sources. So you can click it open and say, yeah, that is what I wanted. That's exactly what I needed. And you give Ross a thumbs up. And that's training Ross. You're getting the benefit of him giving you a good or it giving you a good answer, but you're also helping train the system and make it a better. It calls itself a lawyer. It calls itself the new smartest lawyer you've never met. So you're helping it become better and provide better answers. If you click on the source link and it's not what you want, you give it a thumbs down. And again, that's training Ross that it's not bringing back the right results. And once you say thumbs down, it then brings up the most next relevant result. So it's using a ranking system as well. So based on the text that you put in, the question that you ask. So I think that it's really interesting. Like, we've been using it in play. We haven't really been using it in practice because it's just not there, and there's so limited data right now for it. But in 5 years, it will be the new Westlaw, and Westlaw is trying to make it Westlaw. So they've incorporated the two. So I think that stuff is really interesting. I'm going to skip all the challenging stuff and just talk about the good stuff. Preservation and collection today. Records management, information governance, huge area of concern for most corporations out there. It's a struggle for most law firms to navigate through it and ensure that they've gotten all the documents that they need for the trial or the case that they're trying to litigate. There are new tools that exist. They are in use today at most e-discovery vendors, at most LPOs, in many, many law firms, and then in some corporations as well, that you can apply data analytics in the collections phase. So you can pick your key custodian, your key person who's at issue. One of your in-house, it might be the CEO. You might collect some of his data. So you collect from his iPad, his cell phones, because he probably has one or two, or she has one or two. Computer, laptop, archives, email, you collect it all, and you run searches, and you make decisions that, yes, this is an important document. Yes, I want to study this. I need to use this. People need to see this. You make decisions on that small set of documents, and then you tell the tools, go out and find documents just like these. And then that's what it pulls back. There's lots of technology defense on that we know how the systems work. We know how the algorithms are behaving. We know to like 90-95% certainty how well it's going to do. And therefore you're culling your data before you've even collected it, which can be a huge time savings and of course cost savings as well. So we're seeing a lot of those tools in practice today. Litigation hold technology has come a long way since, again, when I started. There's about 200 different products out there today that you can install in your archiving system or behind your firewall that will help you manage the litigation hold process. It will tell you when someone has to go in and say, we got this litigation, we have to do a hold. It will then go out and find relevant documents. It will start tagging immediately documents as they're being created. It gets pulled in. There's a disposal date you can enter in. So it will hold it for the life of the litigation hold. When it expires, those documents will go back into the life cycle of records management, and they will be tagged and flagged for disposal in the normal course of business. The advent of these tools has made the information governance record management teams so much more efficient and so much more so much better, actually. E-discovery processing and hosting. Again, if we talk about the volumes of data that we're seeing today, when I started, we would get through maybe 50 gigs a day, and that was a lot for us. Collecting 50 gigs was a big deal, but being able to process 50 gigs of data in one day was, wow, look what we did. We did 50 gigs. And we charged about £2,000 for it, right? Like 50 gigs would cost about £2,000 a gig back in 1997. A gig, yes. It was very expensive. But then again, no one had 50 gigs. It's not like, email had only been around for a couple of years at that point. So a gig was not even something people really talked about. Today, we can get through a terabyte and a half of data a day, and a terabyte's 1,024 gigs. So 50 gigs to 1,000 gigs in one day, and we charge about £35 a gig. So the price difference and the time difference, it's all because of the technology that exists today. We can get through it really fast. Not a lot of human intervention, so therefore the price goes down, time speeds up. And that has brought the cost of e-disclosure or e-discovery way down, which here in the UK is especially helpful when you're talking about the Jackson forms and pre-budgeting and having to fit within a a number. So that's definitely helped. Cloud storage, huge thing. Storage used to cost so much money. People would do it in-house and they would spend $35,000 on a server. And then when that server got big, they would have to buy another server. And then you had server farms and you need IT personnel to manage that. Today, there are cloud and server companies out there that will do it for pennies. So again, drastically reduced. What next? 2 minutes, awesome. Document review and production. Document review is an interesting area as far as technology integration. That visualization, that AI I was talking about, the machine learning. Again, I gave an example. You take a small set of documents, you make decisions, you feed them back to the system goes out and finds similar documents. A lot of people are relying on those sorts of tools to create workflows where they don't have to review millions of documents. Instead, they review 10 to 15%. Here in the UK, it's really taken off because we don't want to be producing too much. We want to produce as little as possible. In the US, it's had a slower takeoff because we love data warehousing in the US. We love to give opposing counsel, a million documents to look through. Predictive coding is one of those tools, so I'm sure you've all heard of predictive coding. It's using that AI, it's using the machine learning and the cognitive computing to make those rationalizations, to make those suggestions. I'll just stop here on outcome prediction. I said that legal research is one of the most interesting areas of AI. This is my second favorite, which is outcome prediction, and then predictive modeling. We have so much data, and companies like myself or e-discovery companies or corporations they're holding so much data, hundreds of terabytes of data. That data has information about it. And what you can do is you can take all that information and aggregate it in databases, which most people do, just because that's storage or archiving. And you can take the information from that and then start searching on it. So there are a couple companies out there who have, we were talking about, I think he was talking about decision database, 40 million, Harvard Law School. Take Harvard Law School's law library. All the information is in there, what the cases were, what they were about, what industries they were in, who litigated them, who won, who the judge was, what the summary judgments were. All of that information is in there. That's going to come out and become fielded information. You can then, what people are doing right now, it's been in practice for the last 2 or 3 years, law firms, when they need co-counsel in local cities, are using systems like this to find co-counsel or local counsel based on win rates, in front of a particular judge. How well do they do? They're using it for recruiting. When someone says, here's my resume, I've worked at these 3 law firms and I'm great. They'll go in and they'll look at their records and say, well, you are a litigator, but you have a 20% win rate. Maybe you're not as great as you think you are. So they're using it as recruiting tools as well, which I think is really interesting. And selecting expert witnesses the exact same way. So it's just, we've got the data, all of the decisions are there, you just got to get them in a database so that the systems can then go in and help you mine that information. And then predictive modeling, again, very interesting. We're working with a couple of law firms who are doing predictive modeling. They're saying to their clients, okay, again, using all of that data, your case with your issue in that jurisdiction tends to win. You have a really good chance if we go with this strategy. Or you should settle because in that jurisdiction, your case with that issue tends to not go over well. That judge doesn't like that issue. So it's an interesting tactic for lawyers to be able to counsel their clients with win-loss statistics, kind of like baseball or football here. The statistics are all there. So it's just basically stats about people, stats about business, and then using it to make real business decisions. And I think I am out of time. Yeah, okay. Do I have anything else? Technology exists. Technology is going to continue to grow. Every day we see interesting stuff happening with new technologies that are out there. Here in the EU or here in the UK, it's been the the smart meter, is at issue right now because it's a meter that's people want in their, some people want it in their house, but the utilities companies want it in the house to say this is the energy you're consuming. It's also tracking a lot of information elsewhere. So there's data privacy issues. There's a lot of other technology, like if you think in your kitchen, there's a lot of smart technology that it's doing the same thing, and we're not realizing the data that it's collecting. So that's happening across every industry and every market, and it's impacting litigation already, but it's going to continue to grow. Just the data about data, the wearables, the drones that are out there. I mean, it's all new technology that's collecting data and then causing litigation issues as well. And thank you.
Thank you. It's really wonderful.